In this video, I am going to cover everything that happened in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin, The Last Ronin The Lost Years, The Last Ronin Lost Day Special, and The Last Ronin 2 Re-Evolution. Let's begin. Forget the temperature. The toxicity level's gotta be off the charts. You'd have to be crazy to swim in that sludge. Maybe, but no bridges and no boats don't leave me much of a choice. Okay, enough chit-chat. Michelangelo jumps into the freezing water and slowly makes his way towards Manhattan, which was now closed off from the rest of the city. The water is cold like ice, smells wrong too, tastes even worse. I guess after decades of pollution and global warming, it's all kinds of nasty. He gets close to the giant protection wall and takes out the security cameras with his ninja stars, then climbs the wall and jumps on the other side. Time to finish this, or die trying. He was shocked to see the city being so crowded. What? You expecting a leisurely stroll the whole way or something? And we thought the Lower East Side was overcrowded before. Michelangelo's brothers are long dead, but they still talk to him while he says this doesn't change anything. The plan stays the same, and he needs to get to the tower in the middle of the city. How? Tough guy. We're inside the walls now. Security will be off the charts. Good luck with that. Michelangelo says luck's got nothing to do with that, and then steals a bike that was parked in front of a bar. He gets on the bike and makes a run for it, attracting too much attention for a stealth mission, but then again, there's something to be said for hiding in plain sight. He arrives at the base of the tower. That's a long way up, and there are guards everywhere. Should have stolen a glider instead, or a catapult, silent but deadly. His brothers make fun of him. He attaches a dynamite stick to his bike, then propels himself on top of a fuel tank. The explosion was so powerful that it threw him several feet into the air, enough to reach one of the tower's vents. Wow, that was graceful. It worked, didn't it? Michelangelo makes his way inside through a maze of cables and wires, remarking that you can take the turtle out of the sewer, but you can't take the sewer out of the turtle. What does that even mean? His brothers asked. He opens a manhole inside the tower, but an alarm goes off immediately. Two guards see him and try to stop him, but he uses a smoke grenade to escape. He attacks one of the guards, believing it was a robotic security guard with a katana, but he was a lot tougher. However, he was shocked to see that there was a human inside the armor. A synthetic ninja? A stinking Sinja. What kind of sick freak does that to someone? Michelangelo claims he is there to find the one doing all of this. The place is going to be crawling with those things soon. Need to keep moving, stay on mission. He moves deeper into the city, fighting off the robots one by one, taking off their heads. He enters a building trying to lose them, but that was a mistake. They move fast, and there is no way for him to retreat. He jumps from the building onto railroad tracks, and from there, he jumps onto a train, trying to escape the guards. He jumps onto a flying police car, opens the door, and throws the guard down. But his driving skills are not great, and he crashes the car. Smooth moves. Classic, you still can't fly 10 feet in a straight line. His brothers taunted him. At least he was getting closer to the tower. Meanwhile, in the tower's penthouse, Michelangelo's target is informed that an unidentified intruder is approaching. Oroku Hiroto instructs his guards to use lethal force, claiming that insubordination from the lower classes cannot be tolerated. He wants the intruder to be pursued, captured, and executed. Hiroto is the master of the Foot Clan and Shredder's grandson. After decades of murder and death, Michelangelo had enough, but getting close to Hiroto wasn't going to be easy. Every guard was alerted to his presence, and everyone was on high alert. Right inside the lion's den. Easy. There's military-grade equipment and hardcore foot soldiers everywhere, and the entrance to the upper levels is way on the other side of the platform. Michelangelo steals a bike and claims they won't expect a direct attack, and then tries to make a run for it straight through the middle of the station. He fights the army of robots, defeating them one by one and using explosives to cover his tracks. Captain Ikusa, why am I looking at the terrorist infiltrator inside the lower levels of my tower? This only infuriates Hiroto, who watches everything on CCTV cameras. I know you're watching, Oroku Hiroto, and I know you're scared. I'm coming for you, you coward. Hiroto calls all available Foot Clan to the tower to take Michelangelo down, but nothing could stand in his way. He goes up to the higher levels, destroying the robot guards, one by one. These machines are fast, strong, but for all their fancy programming, they lack sheer will. Incompetent fools. Activate the Stockman tech. I want that monster dead. Hiroto panics and gets more desperate as Michelangelo gets closer to him. He claims he is the master here, and everyone does what he tells them to do. He doesn't want to face Michelangelo and sends hordes of robots to attack him. Eventually, a bigger robot runs towards Michelangelo and jumps at him at full speed, causing both of them to crash through the window and fall from the top of the tower. No, not like this. Not after I came so close. But Michelangelo didn't die. He survived, and although badly injured, he got up and ran away. The guards searched for him, but the girl from whom he stole the bike earlier protected him and told the guards Michelangelo went in the wrong direction. Hiroto gloated in relief, believing the intruder was now dead and nobody remains to question his rule over the city. As always, I have all under control. Nothing will ever threaten my ironclad rule over this city, and you will always be here to share my glory, dearest mother. Hiroto's mother, Karai, was being kept alive by a machine, but his happiness was short-lived as one of his captains informs him that Michelangelo survived and he escaped. Could have gone down fighting, let those things finish me off, but that'd just be avoiding the inevitable. Need to end this now, on my terms, for my family, for honor. Michelangelo arrives back in his hideout, remarking that he misses his brothers and father very much, and more than anything else, he wanted to make them proud. Thinking he is badly injured and the mission failed, Michelangelo takes the katana and prepares to take his own life. But before he could end his life, his body gave up, and he lost all strength, falling on the ground unconscious. Hey, Sleeping Beauty, wake up. We got things to do. Oh man, who smashed a cement truck into my skull? Michelangelo has a vision of him and his brothers hanging out at their old sewer lair, but sadly, it ends quickly. He wakes up inside a room connected to medical equipment, while April brings him food and something to drink. The story continues with April waking up in the middle of the night, alone in her bed and crying. She had a bad dream and can't contain her emotions, remembering something tragic that happened in the past. What the heck's taking them so long? Relax, April. You know getting from the lair to anywhere in the city is always a pain in the butt. Are you nervous to tell them? Sort of, but they're family. I still can't believe you said yes. I used to think I'd end up marrying you out of pity, but then I couldn't wait for you to ask me. Took you long enough. Suddenly, Raphael breaks the door open and rushes inside covered in blood, barely able to walk. He clears the table of all the food and says they were ambushed. His father is being carried inside by his brothers, barely alive, and he tells April to forget about him and worry about Master Splinter. Who the hell ambushed you? Casey asked. Foot bastards. A large strike team jumped us when we came out of the sewers. Leonardo stayed behind so they could save Master Splinter, and Casey asks Raphael to go after him to make sure he's okay. Leonardo says they are safe for now. He managed to turn the last of them back to the subway. Everyone is surprised about the attack because they had a truce with the Foot Clan, but Leonardo is surprised it even lasted as long as it did. The story jumps back to the present, with April getting out of bed. She was missing an arm and a leg and needed prosthetics just to live her life normally. She asks Casey for help, but just like Michelangelo's brothers, he is long dead, and only his memory remains imprinted in her mind. Michelangelo survived his fall and was slowly recovering. He had no idea that April was still alive, believing she had been killed just like her brothers. He makes tea and talks to his dead brothers, who mock him for trying to kill himself after he failed to kill Oroku Hiroto. This only makes him angry, and he throws the teapot, hitting no one because he was the only one there. He calms down and makes another tea. This time, he pours 4 glasses and drinks together with his brothers, claiming he will finish what he started. After the attack on Master Splinter, Raphael leaves and follows the Foot Clan into the subway, trying to avenge his father and brothers. Oroku Karai, the Foot Clan leader, was displeased to hear the attack on the Ninja Turtles failed. I gave you one simple command, to kill the mutants, and now you dare to return here to nurse your own pathetic wounds? This will not stand. We must finish what we have started. The truce between the Foot and Hamato clans has been broken. Blood has been spilled. Raphael finds the Foot Clan and slaughters them one by one using his twin Sai, claiming that Karai already made the mistake of sending her wimps to do her job. You ambushed my family. You killed my father. There is only one way this ends. So stop hiding behind these scrubs, and we'll finish this once and for all. Karai accepts the challenge and attacks Raphael. The two of them battle to the death, both landing devastating blows on each other. Karai calls Michelangelo a brute and claims that even though her soldiers failed to kill him and take his head, she will not. He grabs her and pulls her into the water. Both of them sink to the ocean floor but continue to fight. Raphael stabs Karai in the back using his weapon, and both of them lose consciousness, sinking deeper and deeper into the water. Back in the present, April comes to the kitchen and asks Michelangelo why he is out of bed. He was almost killed and should be resting in bed. I'm happy you're alive, Mikey. Thanks, April. You too. All this time I thought, we've got some serious catching up to do, but not before we get some breakfast in us. Mikey tells her he tried to kill Hiroto, and also that his body evolved over the years. A fall like the one he had should have killed him in the past. Out of nowhere, April screams out Casey's name again, asking him to come and eat breakfast, and Mikey is shocked to find out Casey was still alive, but it wasn't actually him. Michelangelo, I'd like you to meet my daughter, Casey Maria Jones. They already met on the streets when Mikey stole her bike. She followed him into the sewers and found him passed out after he tried to kill himself. The story then jumps to Hiroto's penthouse in the city, where he was training with other ninjas. He wants the ninjas to hurt him, but they can't because he is better than all of them, and ends the training by knocking out one of them. Hiroto asks his top captain if he found and killed the intruder yet, but the captain says they are still trying to find him. I want all our troops engaged in a full crackdown of the city, inside and out. But remember, Captain, I will allow for your inability to locate the beast just this once. The price for failing me again will be the same as your predecessors. I almost forgot what a real meal was like. Thanks, April. Just don't expect anything fancier in Rock Bottom, Casey replied. April explains what Rock Bottom means. New York was divided into 3 districts: top, middle, and bottom. Rock Bottom is the underground, where the resistance lives and fights. Before continuing with the explanation, April wants Mikey to get some rest, and Casey takes him to another room. She claims she knows Mikey from pictures of him and his brothers. They were like storybook heroes to her. She learned how to fight from a young age, learning kendo and studying history to learn about Bushido and seppuku. Casey took Mikey's weapons and personal journal when she found him unconscious and asks him what happened to him after his brothers died. He was missing for many years. I just started walking into the mountains. A kid from the sewers of lower Manhattan straight into the wild. I didn't have a chance, so I found a place to meet my end. Father's book was the path, to learn and master all forms of martial arts, to adapt to every challenge, every form of combat. I was the last of my clan, masterless, a Ronin. I welcomed the pain at first. At least I felt something after all this time. Then I saw the looks on their faces, laughing, taking a life just to take a life for fun, no honor. That's when I got mad, really mad. Days, weeks, maybe longer I lay there, but my mutant body would not die. I started to hear voices, telling me that my destiny was incomplete, that I couldn't leave yet. Eventually, it got warmer, and the mountains provided sustenance and solitude. I read and reread Father's book, looking for some kind of balance, maybe even final peace. But the real world found me again, and I almost let it take me. My training reached its end. There would be no peace until I fulfilled my destiny. It was time to come home to face it. Michelangelo wanted to complete his master's mission and kill the last Oroku. Casey wants to help, but Mikey refuses, saying he doesn't want to be responsible for anyone else getting killed because of him. But he appreciates the offer and can't decide if Casey is more like her father or her mother. Part 3 begins in the sacred Foot Clan temple, when Hiroto turned 16 years old, and the generals wanted to appoint him as their new leader. This was his birthright for being Shredder's grandson. Oroku Hiroto, do you swear now unto death your fealty to the Foot Clan, to become the master you were born to be? Yes, I swear my undying loyalty. To all here, my most decorated generals, and to all who serve under you. 10 years had passed since his mother Karai was gravely injured in battle by the mutants of the Hamato clan, but his first command as the new leader of the Foot Clan was not of revenge, but to declare peace with the Hamato clan. In the present, Hiroto prepares to give a live speech in front of everyone living in New York City. He says that for 20 years he has protected them and offered them shelter, allowing everyone to prosper at will, but someone attacked him and tried to kill him. He vows to hunt this person, turn every stone until he is found, and starting from tonight, the entire city will be under martial law. An army of robot soldiers invade the streets, threatening to arrest anyone after curfew hours. Back in his room, Mikey talks to his brothers again, who say that Casey is pretty damn impressive, calling her book smart and street smart, but also crazy for offering to fight against the Foot Clan. She can't be more than 16 years old, Mikey says. We were also very young when we fought the Foot Clan for the first time, but we are mutants while Casey is just a kid. She sneaks up on Mikey and asks if all ninjas talk to themselves or just him. She wants to go topside to meet with her crew, but Michelangelo thinks it might be a bad idea. Mikey goes to speak with April, but is shocked to find Fugitoid's, aka Professor Honeycutt's head inside her lab. That's everything left that she was able to salvage. He thinks it's time they catch up and asks April to bring him up to date on everything she's been working on. The story then jumps back to the past, with Master Splinter and Donatello preparing to leave for Japan. They want to meet with the Foot Clan after their new leader offered to make peace, but Donatello doesn't trust them after the attack that happened last time. Dr. Baxter Stockman was watching closely as Master Splinter left the garage heading to Japan, and he immediately instructed his strike team to attack the Ninja Turtles compound and kidnap Fugitoid. Leonardo asked everyone to lock down all the outer doors and get ready for the attack. Michelangelo, April, Casey, and Honeycutt were still at the hangar and preparing to leave and meet with the rest, but a group of ninjas attacks them. "The Foot Clan are nothing but liars," Mikey remarked. "I hear you, Mike, but first things first, bro. Get my wife and Honeycutt to safety," Casey replied. "Honeycutt says this isn't an attack from the Foot Clan. Dr. Stockman is behind this. He's found a way to track him. A group of powerful ninjas break straight through the wall and attack them, but they were not ordinary ninjas. They were robots." Dr. Stockman freaks out because the attack wasn't working and sends hundreds of drones to retrieve Fugitoid. The Turtles were doing their best to defend themselves against the robot ninjas, but the drones were a bit too much even for them. Professor Honeycutt messages Stockman saying that he won't take him alive. He will self-destruct before he lets himself get captured. "Very well. If I can't have you, nobody will." Stockman detonated all of the drones, causing a giant explosion destroying the compound completely, seemingly killing Leonardo and everyone inside. In the present, Casey moves through the subway, trying to reach the surface and meet with her crew. She has no idea that Hiroto ordered martial law and robot police officers were patrolling the streets, arresting everyone who was still not in their homes. She decides to split her crew to lose the police faster and tells everyone to meet at the lair in 1 hour. Back in the lair, April was taking blood samples from Michelangelo, trying to understand his mutation better. Mikey is worried about activating Fugitoid. The last time that happened, Dr. Stockman was able to trace him and attack them. He asks April what happened after the explosion and how did she survive when he thought that everyone was killed. "I woke up about a week later, only to find out I'd lost my husband, my friends, my home, my arm, and my leg, and to my surprise, I was pregnant." After the explosion, some of Casey's strike team survived also, and they managed to recover Fugitoid's head. When Mikey woke up, he thought that everyone had been killed. He tried calling Donatello and Master Splinter, but nobody answered, so he took a plane and headed to Japan to find them. "I didn't know what else to do." "I know what you're thinking, but it's not your fault, Mikey, none of it." While April was consoling her friend, Casey and her crew entered the lair, saying that hell's breaking loose in Rock Bottom. Next, we see Hiroto on top of his tower overlooking the city. Look at them down there, tiny little insects begging to be crushed, oblivious to the giant who towers over them. To me, I am the one they owe their entire pathetic existence to. I am the one who gives them all they need. I am their God incarnate. God made flesh, flesh and blood. I am their master, I alone. While he was having this mental breakdown, he slips and falls from the towering building. But he claims he is an immortal god, and his angels will not allow him to die. His robots immediately grab him, saving him from inevitable death. Meanwhile, back in Rock Bottom, April claims she has a plan that involves bringing Honeycutt back online and attacking Dr. Stockman. Michelangelo doesn't like this plan. It's too dangerous and risky, but April says in order to get to Hiroto, they need to take Stockman down first, and she has the perfect machine to get the job done. Part 4 begins with Michelangelo and the resistance attacking Dr. Stockman's, but his compound was well defended, and Mikey already regrets the decision to attack. He tells Casey to provide cover fire while he jumps the barricades and attacks head-on, destroying waves of robots and even a giant one sent by Stockman himself. She eventually joins the fight and helps Mikey, even though he told her to stay put, and we get a flashback to before the attack started. Casey was training in the lair, going all out on a punching bag, while Mikey watches her technique. He mocks her, saying that her training seems good for cardio and should feel lucky that the bag isn't hitting her back. He critiques her technique, speed, and discipline, remarking that she has talent but needs a lot of training. He offers to train her and become her sensei, but only if she listens to him completely. They either do this his way or the highway. April thanks Mikey for looking after her daughter and asks him what happened in Japan after Donatello and Master Splinter went to meet with the Foot Clan. Mikey followed his brother and father to Japan and found the Foot Clan's Hamato village high in the mountain. Inside, he met Master Shinchiro, who tells him what happened after Master Splinter arrived. They went to meet the Foot Clan and talk about peace inside a giant cemetery. Donatello found it suspicious that Hiroto chose to meet in a place of death to talk about peace, and they refused to hand over their weapons. His suspicions turned true when Hiroto arrived and claimed that Master Splinter was a fool for believing the Foot Clan would make peace with them, and ordered his soldiers to kill the Rat. This whole meeting was a trap. Hordes of ninjas jumped from inside the graves and attacked Donatello and his father, who defended themselves honorably. Master Splinter asked Hiroto to face him head-on instead of hiding behind his army of ninjas, and he accepted. He rushed into battle on his horse, but Master Splinter threw his sword towards him and injured the young master in the shoulder. However, the Foot Clan general ordered his archers to kill Master Splinter, and before Hamato reinforcements could arrive, Master Splinter and Donatello were killed. After realizing that all of his brothers, father, and friends were dead, Michelangelo refused to stay in the village and wandered off in the mountains, unsure of what would happen to him. He was the last of his kind, a Ronin. That is when I decided the feud must end. I would follow my father's journal, train, and complete the mission we were intended to from birth. All Oroku must perish. Mikey asks April why she didn't tell him about her daughter's extra abilities and accuses her of injecting her with mutagen DNA. She claims she would never do that to her own daughter, and the mutagen was transmitted from both her parents after years of being in close contact with the turtles. The story then jumps to the present on Roosevelt Island, with the resistance taking cover from all the gun towers firing at them. Mikey asks Casey to keep everyone moving and continue suppression fire towards the towers while he tries to take them out himself. He destroys the guns one by one. April wants to use her armored car and reach the generator. She needs a lot of power to bring Fugitoid back online, which should enable them to talk directly to Professor Honeycutt and access Stockman's network. Realizing the attack is a lot more serious than what he initially thought, Stockman sends an army of Mousers to deal with the intruders. April is able to detonate a giant EMP from her car and destroy all of them. She then destroys the generator room door and goes inside, taking Fugitoid's head and connecting it right into the power grid. Stockman's throwing everything he has at us. Watch your backs. The mad scientist himself decides to join the fight and attacks April while trying to take Fugitoid offline. But the robot was now online and utters 4 words: "You shall not pass," and then electrocutes Stockman, sending thousands of volts through his body, enough to completely destroy him. Fugitoid kills Stockman and reverts back to a swarm of nanobites that invade the compound completely, infecting all the computers and taking control over the power grid. Honeycutt was able to take down communications inside the Foot Clan towers, taking everything offline, including the robots that were policing the streets under martial law. Michelangelo retreats from the island while April remarks that they've won this battle, but the war is not over yet. They still have to deal with Oroku Hiroto. The story continues in the lair, with Mikey thinking of a way to swiftly deal with Hiroto once and for all. His brothers criticize him for not acting fast enough and not taking advantage of the fact that Hiroto's robots are now offline. Mikey knows that any direct attack on the Foot Clan will bring many casualties on both sides. He wants to avoid further loss of life and gears up to face Hiroto alone. Before departing, he leaves his journal inside the room and tells his brothers to stop talking to him and get out of his head. With the robot police now offline, the streets are overrun with looters. Casey remarks that it's not the desired effect, but they have to use this to their advantage. Hiroto begins to panic because his men can't reach Stockman anymore, and he doesn't know what happened to him. He tells the soldiers to bring the robots back online and fetch him the armor immediately. When Fugitoid took down Hiroto's network, the water pumps went offline as well, and the city began flooding. Casey goes back to the lair to search for his mother and confronts her about the mutagen in her system, saying that she always knew she was different, but doesn't understand why her mother never told her the truth. Meanwhile, Michelangelo arrives at the Foot Clan Tower, now left defenseless without the robots, and the only ones standing between him and Hiroto are the Foot Clan ninjas. He easily deals with them, leaving a trail of bodies and blood behind, slowly advancing through the building. He arrives at a door guarded by a giant guard and attacks him head-on, not knowing what to expect. He kicks the guard in the face and uses this opportunity to stab him in the neck. The giant guard falls down, but the fight was not over. Another robot attacks him, but he moves fast and uses the giant sword from the guard to stab his opponent and completely destroy it. Finally, Michelangelo finds Oroku Hiroto hiding inside the laboratory, watching over the body of his injured mother. Hiroto runs his hand through the coffin and kills his mother, claiming he actually hates her for abandoning him and only kept her alive out of spite. At least she had honor. "You ready?" Mikey asked. "Well, I certainly didn't get all dressed up for no reason. Let us begin the end." Hiroto was wearing a shiny metal armor, covered in spikes, and attacks Mikey. His armor is like liquid metal that he can manipulate. He can make it solid in order to strike with his fists and blades. I need to steer clear of those. A big explosion propels both of them through the window, forcing them to grab what they can to stay alive and use the side of the building to continue the fight. When Fugitoid took down Hiroto's network, the water pumps went offline as well, and the city began flooding. The idiot is fighting me the whole way down. I got him to take the full force of the fall, and still barely a scratch on him. I really need to find a weak spot in his armor. The two of them continue to fall, going through glass windows from level to level, until they fall inside a water tower. Mikey thinks that nothing important broke inside him, but sees an injury on Hiroto. However, the body armor healed the wound immediately, and Hiroto recovered without a scratch. The armor is self-repairing, gonna have to find a workaround. He's keeping the pressure on, relentless. He knows I'm hurt. I need to keep my distance and choose the right time to strike. I can't keep this up forever. That fall did more damage than I thought. I'm practically moving at half speed, and he knows it. He detonates a grenade inside Hiroto's hand, and then stabs his hand using a twin sai, saying that it's a gift from Raphael. The attacks left Hiroto practically unharmed, and he asks Mikey if that's the very best he can do. However, a powerful explosion at the tower distracts him, and Mikey hits him from behind, causing Hiroto to fall from several feet high directly onto the concrete below. The fall damaged the suit, and he was seriously injured, but Mikey kept attacking and stabs him using his sword. Hiroto accepts his defeat and claims that Michelangelo won. He begs for mercy, but Mikey says this fight only ends one way, with one of them dead. He picks up a manhole cover and wants to decapitate him, but Hiroto stabs him using the claws on his armor. Stupid, cocky fool. I fell for the oldest trick in the book. I need to regroup. I need some space. He jumps into the sewer and tries to buy some time, moving through the rising water caused by the floods, but Hiroto was right behind him, making sure Mikey doesn't get a single moment to recover. While all of this was happening, April and his daughter Casey were trying to fix the pumps and prevent the city from flooding. April finds the pump that was causing the problem and manages to get it working again, causing the water to overflow the sewers while being pumped outside. Michelangelo and Hiroto are caught directly in the giant wave of water, and both of them are expelled outside the city walls through the pipes. You will not survive this, mutant. I cannot be defeated. My head's spinning, guts leaking, and I can barely stand. He's right. This whole thing has been a one-way ticket, but I'm not taking that trip alone. I'm gonna bury you here, Hiroto. This mudhole will be your grave. Mikey hits him relentlessly, but Hiroto has one last ace up his sleeve. He calls himself immortal and begins to laugh while activating a self-destruct sequence that electrocutes both of them and then causes an explosion. Oroku Hiroto was finally killed and left breathless, face down in the mud, while Michelangelo barely survived the explosion. Casey exits one of the pipes and finds him badly injured on the ground. She runs to him and begs him not to die. She wants him to teach her how to fight and brings Master Splinter's journal. Mikey apologizes and says it was his duty to avenge his family, while Casey says that she is his family now. He tells her to keep the journal. It will teach her everything he learned, and then gives his last breath. Casey hugs him and cries, while her mother says goodbye to her sweet friend. Mikey, wake up already. You gonna sleep all day or what? Longest nap ever, bro. His brothers ask Mikey to get up and go topside for some fresh air and training. They are already behind schedule. They begin racing from rooftop to rooftop, mocking each other and calling each other names until they reach Master Splinter and Casey, who were waiting for them. Their father says that New York City has a unique smell, and Michelangelo agrees, saying it smells like home. The story continues inside the lair, with Casey visiting her mother inside the laboratory. But in the corner, we see 4 baby turtles inside a glass container. Hurry up and grow already. I've got so much cool stuff to teach you. The story begins in the sewers of Rock Bottom, with April's daughter Casey teaching the young turtles how to fight. Casey and her mother used mutagen to grow 4 baby turtles to replace the Ninja Turtles and continue their legacy. The turtles' names are Odin, Moha, Uno, and Yi, but they are more concerned about fighting between each other and eating rather than training to become ninjas. Casey has been struggling ever since Michelangelo died and used Master Splinter's journal to learn everything about martial arts and pass it down to the young mutants. The story then jumps to Hokkaido, Japan. After the Foot Clan slaughtered Master Splinter, Raphael, Leonardo, and Donatello, Michelangelo was the only one left alive. A group of thugs attack him, but he doesn't want to fight back, believing he is all alone now. welcoming pain and wanting to die. But his mutant body is stronger than he thought, and he survives. He wanders alone through the cold mountains of Japan until he finds an old abandoned house. I thought I'd found what I was looking for, a place to stop, to lie down and die. I was wrong. The freezing temperatures, no water, and no food for who knows how long. And still, my mutant body wouldn't let my spirit go. Neither would the voice that suddenly began whispering inside my head saying, "This is not your destiny." When spring finally arrived, I figured if I wasn't going to die, I'd better get busy surviving. Mikey started fishing, meditating, and growing vegetables, studying his father's journal, and seeking peace. But trouble always had a way of finding him. The monster is some kind of green freak. What's it doing here? Who cares? The boss says no survivors. The thugs found Michelangelo and attacked him, and just like before, he refused to fight back. He accepted the pain and welcomed death. He thought about what his brothers would say if they saw him getting beaten up, but he was more worried about what his father would say. He remembers a fight that happened a long time ago, with him and his brothers fighting hordes of Foot Clan ninjas. He was weak and wanted to give up, but Master Splinter didn't allow him to, saying that this is not his destiny, to die like a coward, and told him to get up and join his brothers in battle. Coward? I'm no coward. This is not my destiny. Just as the thugs prepared to end his life, Michelangelo decided to listen to his father and join the fight. He grabbed his attacker's weapon and killed him, calling the other thugs cowards who killed just for the fun of killing with no honor. He attacked them viciously, letting out years of rage, loneliness, and guilt that had built up inside of him, killing the thugs one by one. In the end, he decides it was time to leave this place, saying that the mountain sanctuary offers a false promise of peace. But this was never his destiny. His destiny is to bring redemption for his family on the battlefield to avenge his brother's death. He leaves the sanctuary and travels down the mountain until he finds a village that he passed by on his way up. But something was terribly wrong. The village had been attacked, and its people murdered in cold blood, women and children alike. He finds the attackers looting the place and gets infuriated. He attacks them viciously, showing no mercy, just like they didn't show any mercy to the villagers. However, one of the villagers was still alive, although badly injured, and tells Michelangelo to leave this place as soon as he can before their master comes. Deathworm is an evil thief, rapist, murderer, feared by everyone including the police and the military. The man dies in front of Mikey, and he starts crying, remembering his father once again, saying that he is never alone in battles. His brothers and he are always present and they fight together. That's when Michelangelo hears something. His brother's ghost calling out his name and urging him to stop crying and get up and get moving. Part 2 continues the story in New York City. While the 4 young turtles were cleaning the lair, Odin dropped his glass and broke it. He asked his brothers and sisters for help in cleaning the floor, but they didn't want to help, saying that Sensei told everyone to clean up their own mess. Casey was spying on the turtles and decides to tell them a story. A long time ago, her father and the Ninja Turtles were on a mission, but Casey saw a lady being attacked and wanted to help. The other turtles helped him, even though it wasn't part of the mission. Sometimes you have to help your teammates when they're in trouble because it's the right thing to do. The story then jumps back to Japan in the past. After the man from the village died, Michelangelo took his advice and left the place before Deathworm and his thugs returned. He headed down the mountain, traveling for months and feeding on plants and mushrooms, with only the ghosts of his dead brothers keeping him company. But he didn't mind the company and actually enjoyed their constant jabbering. He finally reached the southern edge of Hokkaido and started swimming, arriving on the western coastline. Unsure of where he wanted to go, he just knew he had to get as far away as possible from Deathworm. His brothers mocked him for running around like a headless chicken, and he blamed them for getting themselves killed and leaving him all alone. He finally realizes what his purpose is and wants to return to New York City and kill Oroku Hiroto, the leader of the Foot Clan, and avenge their deaths. He gets on a ferry boat that was heading to Korea, and after nearly a year of sleeping only in the daytime and traveling at night, he decides to visit the main deck for some peace and quiet. But trouble always had a way of finding him, and 2 thugs working for Deathworm blow his cover. They threaten to kill him and he deals with them swiftly, but he is forced to jump in the water and swim away. He swims toward an island, which was much further than what he thought, and it completely drains his energy, almost drowning. He was rescued by an old man and his dog, who takes him back to his house. 2 days later, Michelangelo wakes up, and the old man introduces himself, saying his name is Master Yip, the former sensei of Master Splinter. He claims to know why Mikey is there, and where was he going because for 2 days, he was constantly talking in his sleep. The old master offers to train Mikey and begin a gruesome training, starting with hand combat and then moving to weapons and techniques. Master Splinter spoke fondly of Master Yip in his journal, and Mikey understood why he was such a great sensei. After many months, Michelangelo finally completed his training and wanted to leave, but Master Yip had one final question. Can you honorably rush to face one enemy when you fearfully retreat from another? Before he goes to New York to face Hiroto, Michelangelo must first deal with Deathworm. He leaves the island and arrives in South Korea, stealing some clothes to keep himself warm and selling his weapons in order to buy food and a warm place to sleep. He arrives in town 38 and goes to a bar to eat some warm soup, but that's when he sees a group of thugs playing pool. One of them had a Deathworm tattoo on his arm, and Mikey asks him where his boss was hiding. The thugs recognize him because they were told to look for a green mutant and immediately attack him. He easily deals with the thugs, and one of them tells him that Deathworm is hiding in Mongolia. Michelangelo then grabs his gear and hijacks a car, heading towards Mongolia with one clear goal in mind, to take down Deathworm and then go after Hiroto in New York. Part 3 begins in the lair with the second generation of Ninja Turtles gathered around the table, while Casey and April prepare food for everyone to eat. Moja comes inside crying, saying she cut her finger while trying to slice some wires inside the laboratory. Granny April appreciates the help, but says she shouldn't have started to work alone, but instead, wait for her. She tells everyone a story that happened after Raphael died when she infiltrated a warehouse that belonged to the Purple Dragons. She was caught and had to be rescued by the Ninja Turtles, and put everyone in danger by going on a mission alone. The story then jumps into the past, after Michelangelo fought the thugs inside the bar and found out that Deathworm was somewhere in Mongolia. Some time ago, there was a powerful 9.6 earthquake that shook China, destroying much of the infrastructure and even affecting many nuclear plants. The country basically collapsed after that and was forced to unify with South Korea. Mikey made his way towards Mongolia, passing through Middle China amongst all of the destruction and chaos. But something happened while driving. He began to lose his eyesight, causing him to crash the car. When he recovered, he was completely blind and couldn't see anything. And on top of that, he was ambushed by a group of locals. They managed to drug him and take him prisoner. The locals took him back to their camp and brought him to meet the chief, someone named Chormagan Noyan. Noyan asks Mikey what happened to him and what was he doing on their land. He told them the truth and said he came here searching for Deathworm. They have a common enemy. Deathworm had been terrorizing their tribe for years, and Noyan offers Michelangelo a place to stay and warm food, saying he wants to help him. Mikey spends the next 2 years with the tribe, living among them, learning to adapt to a new life without his eyesight, but constantly training and developing his skills. Batu, one of the tribe's warriors, tells him that Deathworm claims he is a descendant of Genghis Khan and managed to gather an army of thugs, traveling around the country, conquering and killing everyone in their path. He shows Mikey a special weapon collected from the thugs called a tonfa, and he is immediately fascinated by it. He trains every day using the tonfa, mastering and perfecting its technique. However, trouble always had a way of finding Michelangelo, and a group of thugs working for Deathworm attacked the tribe. They attacked Mikey, and while he fought them off initially, they managed to tase him with thousands of volts, causing him to fall to the ground. Before losing consciousness, he felt a sharp pain in his eyes, and it seemed as if his eyesight returned, just enough to see the young girl who was taking care of him dead on the ground. Part 4 begins in New York City. The young turtles have grown in stature and ability, and they are on a mission to infiltrate a secret enemy base. While his brothers and sisters were opening the door and taking out the guards, Uno was supposed to keep watch and secure their escape, but he got anxious and came to help. However, this caused the whole team to fail and get shot. Luckily, this was only training, and Casey used paintballs, not actual bullets. She tells Uno about the time she and Michelangelo attacked Stockman's base. She was instructed to stay behind and provide cover fire, but she ignored the order and put everyone in danger by doing so. She tells Uno that Master Splinter talks about sacrifice in his journal, and she thinks that a good leader knows how to sacrifice his ego and when to let others take the lead. The story then jumps back to Mongolia a few years back. After Michelangelo was electrocuted and captured by Deathworm's thugs, he was tied up and locked inside a truck while the people from his new tribe were killed and their homes burned to the ground. By the time we stopped, I was hungry, thirsty, and too weak to put up a fight. I figured it was just a matter of time until the bastards were gonna kill me, and once again, like all those years ago in the mountains, I was ready to die. But the thugs didn't want to kill him. They brought him to a gladiator training camp in Kazakhstan, where a woman named Abigail Finn was in charge. She organized fights between people and mutants and wanted Michelangelo to fight in the ring for her. They placed microbombs inside his neck just in case he tried to escape, and then put him inside a giant cage with other mutants. It didn't take long before he became friends with a man named Shaka, who told him that the last thing he wants to do inside this place is show weakness. The camp was divided into sections, one for the human fighters and one for the mutant. Abigail forces everyone to fight to the death, using the bombs inside everyone's necks to make sure they obey her. Most of the guards have the Deathworm tattoo on their arms, meaning that Abigail works for the warlord Deathworm. Shaka used to be a professional fighter, but one night after one of his fights, he was kidnapped and brought here. He's been fighting and surviving ever since, vowing that if he ever escapes, he would go after Deathworm and kill him. Eventually, Abigail organized an ultimate fight night, a battle royale to the death, with the winner being offered his freedom. The last two warriors standing were Michelangelo and Shaka, and they were forced to fight each other. Shaka understood Mikey's pain and knew his desire to avenge his family and friends was far greater than his, and wanted him to win the match. He threw his axe towards Abigail, hitting her in the arm, prompting her to give the order, "Kill the bastard." And just like that, the bomb inside Shaka's neck exploded, and Michelangelo was left the only one left standing. Mikey couldn't believe that his friend sacrificed himself to save his life and wanted to avenge him. He attacks the guards and even the people who were watching. He cuts the wires trying to get to Abigail, but he was electrocuted once again and falls to the ground. He wakes up in the hospital bed while the doctor was trying to remove the bomb inside his neck. Abigail says that Mikey won the fight and became their finest champion, offering him freedom as a reward. One of her thugs brings his backpack with all of his belongings, including Master Splinter's journal. Mikey puts on his clothes and prepares to leave, but before doing so, he takes Abigail hostage and threatens to kill her if she doesn't tell him where Deathworm is hiding. She agrees and says that she just sent a big portion of the winnings heading towards Italy, and if he wants to find her boss, that's where he'll be. Michelangelo leaves the camp and jumps on a train, constantly being followed by his brothers, and his relentless duty to avenge the people in his life, including Shaka, who sacrificed himself for him. Eventually, he arrives in Rome and finds Deathworm hiding inside the Colosseum. The years of training to become a ninja are coming in handy, and he is able to sneak inside the place without being noticed, but the place was infested with soldiers. There would be only one way to get to Deathworm: kill or be killed. He throws smoke grenades and jumps inside the Colosseum, slicing and cutting his enemies one by one as he slowly moves towards his target. Suddenly, out of the smoke, a giant figure appears. "All of you, move aside. He's mine. After all this time, after so many deaths, time to honor my oath, time to end this. He's big and strong. I can't let him get a hold of me. I need to keep him at a distance." Mikey was able to defeat his opponent quite easily, implanting one of his twin sai directly into his head. But when he bends down to pick up one of his swords, someone smacks him over the head with a stick. The real Deathworm was still alive, and Michelangelo couldn't believe that the tiny man in front of him was the feared warlord. But Deathworm quickly demonstrated his skills and abilities, proving once again why looks can be deceiving. Mikey was taken by surprise, but the mission remained the same: kill or be killed. Deathworm wanted to kill Mikey using a tiny blade, but he used the tonfa to knock him out and finished him off by electrocuting his brains out. The mighty warlord was finally killed, and Mikey had his revenge. He asks the other thugs if they want to follow their leader, but they were too scared to do anything. He steals the jacket from the giant soldier he killed earlier and leaves the Colosseum. The next part of the journey was to return home and avenge his brothers and father by killing the leader of the Foot Clan, Oroku Hiroto. The story then ends in the present in New York City, with Casey and her mother April introducing the new Ninja Turtles, Odin, Moha, Uno, and Yi. April recounts her 60 years of living in New York City and how resilient she and the people in her life have been. She remembers living with her mother and watching the World Trade Towers collapse and have something proud and tall rebuilt in its place. When she later lost her mother to cancer, the city made sure that she was still not alone, giving her 4 brothers and a husband to lend her strength. Then, when she lost most of her second family, fate continued to give her someone so that she would still not be alone. And now, Years later, she has even more people in her life, 4 beautiful grandchildren who are constantly causing trouble. Moha found some of Donnie's old cassette tapes and wants to check them out, but Uno keeps pestering her to train in kendo, as he says she's the only one who can almost keep up with him. April tells Uno to use all that pent-up energy on something he can do solo, like 100 push-ups. Uno likes this idea, and so does Moha, as she can now explore her treasures in peace. But then, they are interrupted by Yi being mad at Odin for playing chess wrong by wanting them to do gallops together instead of going by the rules. Odin objects that he doesn't want them on different sides. It's more fun when they're friends, to which April has a hard time arguing against. She gives Yi something to do that doesn't involve getting frustrated at her brother and asks her to fix her coffee machine again. Just as April thinks she's handled the day's interruptions, her own daughter comes and complains that the dress for her date with Jiro Watanabe looks awful on her. April tells her that Casey's supposed to be going on a first date, not the prom. Odin thinks she looks nice for her hero, and Uno finds that line corny. April's advice is to just be herself and not worry about it. Casey thanks her mother for watching the kids instead of doing her black market run like she normally does on that day, and then leaves. Seconds after she's gone, Odin already misses her. But April has other plans, as she intends on taking the kids on her black market run anyway. April writes in her journal describing how the black market works in present day. When Oroku Hiroto took over New York, currency was replaced by a digital social credit-based system. Unfortunately, the Resistance and pretty much anybody who wasn't insanely pro-Foot Clan were basically left with a social credit rating worth nothing. Since then, the Resistance developed a black market barter system, where if you brought the right person the right thing, they would give or get you what you wanted. Nobody was better at getting what you wanted than a man known as Tinker Smith. He was a single parent to a daughter known just as Tinker 2. Tinker Sr. has hoarded tons of goods, but the prices were always what most would think is fair, anything he could get to make Tinker 2 happy. Unfortunately, Tinker Sr. was killed when the Resistance knocked out all of Baxter Stockman's tech on Roosevelt Island with a flood, and much of his enterprise was lost. Even though she took over her father's operations, Tinker 2 was driven more than a little mad, and held a grudge against April, blaming her for her father's death. April and the Turtles approach Tinker 2's security system, and Tinker asks who's with her. April replies that they're her grandbabies, and Tinker becomes intrigued. When they arrive, Yi is fascinated by Tinker's warehouse. Tinker asks if Casey Marie married a lizard, and April says no, they're turtles, and introduces them to her. Upon hearing one is named Uno, Tinker says they can call her Tinker Doss, which Uno doesn't think is funny, but it causes his sisters to laugh. Despite her grudge towards April, Tinker takes a shine to her grandkids. Then April produces her part of the trade, a VHS copy of Tommy Boy, Tinker's favorite movie, which her previous copy was washed out in the flood that took her father. Tinker begins to reenact the movie's fat guy in a little coat scene, but April stops her, saying that Odin's a little sensitive to the word fat, since Uno uses it to tease him. Tinker says he looks more like a cuddly little tank to her, brightening his spirits. Tinker hands over her half of the barter, then asks Moha if she wants to watch it with her. Moha excitedly accepts, but April says she and the kids are on a schedule, leaving Tinker to watch the movie alone. April details the subject of her next stop, the Purple Dragon. The dragons had always been trouble to the Turtles, but once Raphael was killed and the truce with the Foot Clan was completely broken, Splinter knew he had to make a bargain that would recruit in a steady stream of soldiers, and thus a deal was made with the dragons. However, after Gerardo's death, the dragons went back to their own ways, and their dangerous new leader Scoozball made things harder to keep friendly. As they approach the dragons' hideout, April tells the Turtles not to be scared. When the girls seem to have no problem with breaching the surface, April guesses that they've been secretly sneaking out. Moha goes to explain, but April stops her, telling her that she can get the story another time and is glad they're good at keeping secrets since what they're doing today would infuriate Casey. Just as April pokes her head out of the sewer, someone points a gun at her face. A group of thugs stop her and tell her that Scuzzball's no longer in charge, breaking their black market bargain. April tries to calm the tension, but one of them thinks that since she brought ninjas, she's ready for a fight. Uno suddenly pops out of the sewer and attacks them, and his brothers and sisters deal with the thugs in seconds. The Turtles surround April in order to protect her, but that's when the dragon's new leader Jigsaw suddenly arrives. Based on the way he talked and dressed, April deduces that he's a former soldier. He dismisses the goons that the Turtles beat and says he knows all about April and Casey Marie. April thinks they've been spying on her, but Jigsaw says that it's her reputation that precedes her, and notes that the ninjas are something new to him. Jigsaw leads April and the Turtles into their compound, where Jigsaw decides to honor the barter she had set with Scuzzball, even though he wasn't in charge anymore. The parcel she got from Tinker turns out to be a record player needle. Jigsaw can't figure out how to properly attach it to the player, but Yi steps in and does it for him. He gives April the dragon's end of the barter, and warns that even if they were cordial today, he can't promise it in the future with their clan. April notes in her journal that the dragons had always been easier to deal with than most of their adversaries, because they were uncoordinated and sloppy. But if they have a military man leading them now, they might become a bigger threat. April and the Turtles make their last barter stop. The crooked NYPD detectives Dick Miller and Frank Corbin. They were swindlers of the highest order back before Hiroto took over, and had their fingers in everybody's pies, which is why the Turtles couldn't really make a move on getting them taken out, because that meant they were also prime sources for intel. During Hiroto's reign, they couldn't operate as freely, so they took security jobs at a speakeasy, where they continued their operations. After Hiroto was disposed of, the NYPD was taking pretty much anybody they could with experience, and so Miller and Corbin returned, back to their old tricks. When April and the Turtles met with Dick and Frank, she chastises Corbin for drinking on the job, then Uno complains about his breath. She introduces her grandkids to the detectives, and Corbin says that he knows that Casey Marie's out on a date with Officer Watanabe, demonstrating just how well connected the two still are. Yi starts gagging on Miller's cigarette smoke and tells him smoking's bad for him. Miller just shoots back that the whole city is bad for them. Miller then brings up to April that Joe Hades, an old mob boss that she and the Turtles had clashed before the Foot took him out, seemed to be back in charge. April tells them that the Purple Dragons have the same thing going on with their new leader, and Corbin says they know about Jigsaw, but as much of a threat as he is, Hades and the Mafia are by far something bigger to look out for. Miller demands their stash for the barter, and she gives him a box of donuts that are supposed to be the best in town. Corbin complains about there not being any chocolate glazed ones like he wanted, but April says he gets what he gets. Miller hands over the last box for the barter chain and warns April about the contents. As the Turtles and April walk off, Moha remembers that Yi said that police officers were heroes, and those two men were anything but. April says that cops are only human, and with being human comes all of the good and bad. Odin also removes his mask, revealing that he ate the chocolate donuts. The endgame of April's barter chain approaches. She is attending the retirement party of Resistance Commander Avalone, who was the one who helped her get back on her feet. He trained and led the Resistance alongside her after she was rescued from the explosion that claimed Leonardo and Casey's lives. She introduces the Turtles to Avalon, who is familiar with them by April's stories, but is meeting them for the first time. The Turtles marvel over the party, while Odin tries to secure a taste of some special punch, but April diverts him to one more appropriate for a child. Uno impresses some of the partygoers with his pull-up prowess, and another digs Moha's taste in music. Avalon says he's tired of combat boots, and he's ready for a lot of reading and slipper wearing. He suggests that April should do the same, but she can't slow down when she's got grandkids to worry about. She opens the package she got from Miller, and it contains many fireworks, telling her friend that she intends to send his career off with a bang. Elsewhere, Casey and Jiro are walking around on their date. Parts of April's journal talk about that this has been what Casey Sr. used to call a lost day, a day where you can get away from the violence, the hectic life, and be normal, happy even. She misses Casey greatly and hopes that she can honor him with days like today. Jiro says that he'd like to hang out with Casey Marie more, and she says she'd like that too. They cuddle close together while watching fireworks light up the sky somewhere in the distance. The story begins inside a warehouse with a big fight going on between the Resistance, led by Casey Marie, April's daughter, and the Yorkville Warriors. The thugs attack the Resistance's base looking to steal what they can, but Casey beat the living crap out of them. She didn't want anyone killed and asked her crew not to kill anyone, even though they knew that if they left them alive, they would simply return later. It's been 15 years since Oroku Hiroto and the Foot Clan fell. The corruption in New York has gotten out of control at all levels, with many criminal gangs inside the government and on the streets. Rock Bottom has it the worst, since many people are unemployed and have to fend for themselves, and on top of that, they get attacked frequently from gangs in the city. Casey takes one of the thugs prisoners and asks her crew to take him for interrogation, and then asks everyone to get some rest. The story then goes back to the Turtles' lair, with the new generation of turtles performing an annual ritual where they tell the story of the Ninja Turtles. A long time ago, the Foot Clan was led by two of their strongest warriors, Hamato Yoshi and the ruthless and evil Oroku Nagi. Hamato was deeply in love with the beautiful Tang Shen, who chose him as her lover over Nagi. This prompted the evil Nagi to confront Tang Shen one night and demanded that she confess her true love for him and not Yoshi. When she refused, his jealousy turned violent, but when Yoshi returned and found Nagi inside, he was overwhelmed with anger and killed him. That day, Oroku Saki, Nagi's son, vowed to take revenge on Yoshi and against Tang Shen for killing his father. They were forced to leave Japan and hide in New York City, while the Foot Clan split in two. The good warriors left and formed the Hamato clan, and the evil warriors stayed behind and united under Oroku Saki's leadership. Oroku took on the name the Shredder and eventually found the young lovers in New York City. He killed both of them, but Yoshi's old rat named Splinter survived and fled into the nearby sewers. He fell into a pit of green mutagen where he discovered 4 baby turtles. Over the years, the rat and the turtles became mutants, and Splinter trained them to become ninja warriors and take revenge on Shredder for killing his master Hamato Yoshi. Years later, the turtles had their revenge and killed Saki, with Leonardo even saying that the Shredder has been shredded. But Shredder's place was taken by his daughter, Oroku Karai, who continued the war against the Hamato clan and the Ninja Turtles, killing Raphael but injuring herself in the process. Her place was taken by her son, Oroku Hiroto, who continued the war and killed Master Splinter and all of the Ninja Turtles. Everyone except Michelangelo, who survived and became the last Ronin. Mikey gave his last breath avenging his family and friends by killing Hiroto, and thus ending the war between the Hamato and the Foot Clan once and for all. However, the story didn't stop here. April and her daughter Casey Marie continued to fight against the corrupt gangs in New York City and grew 4 baby turtles, Odin, Moha, Uno, and Yi. Casey became their sensei and trained them, following Master Splinter's journal, ensuring that one day they might become ninjas of their own. After finishing the ritual, the 4 young turtles headed into the city to explore and have some fun, even though their sensei forbade them from going alone. It was getting late, and they tried to run home before the sensei knew they were missing. But when they entered the lair, Casey and her mother were waiting for them. Casey didn't know what their punishment should be, but Yi reminded her that the last time they snuck out, she promised them 6 months of restrictions. They turned on the TV to watch the city's mayor and the chief of police giving a big speech. The news reporter asked them what their plan is to deal with violence on the street and the homeless people. But the mayor deflected the questions, saying that most of the accusations are rumors and the police are doing their best to keep the streets safe. This only infuriated Casey, but her mother tried to calm her down and said they should order pizza, and Odin agreed it was a good idea. Casey's phone started ringing. It was the commander of the resistance, saying they are under attack by gangs again, and they don't have enough manpower to fight them. Casey decides it's time to take the turtles on their first official mission, even though her mother thinks it's too early for that. They arrive at the resistance base, where the gangs were trying to steal supplies and food, but Sensei gives them a serious beating, while the turtles watched in fear, saying that they will never make her mad ever again. The turtles are able to hold their own against the thugs, thanks to years of training and mentorship from their sensei, following the teachings of Master Splinter. Casey says she doesn't remember training them to talk and asks them to finish their mission like she taught them, to watch for incoming attack angles and cover each other's backs. Unfortunately, Odin was surprised from behind and got hit with a powerful hammer right in the head. Everyone stopped and rushed to see if he was okay, but Odin just stood there, frozen solid.